Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for August. I hope you're well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. So before I start, if this reading resonates with you, there will be an extended at the end. There's a link down in the description. That's the first link. The second link is for a 6-month overview that I've done for each of the signs. There's over 30 hours of readings between the 12 signs there. So if you're interested in that, it runs from July to December, and that's available down there. Obviously, if you are one of my patrons, then all that extended content goes onto Patreon for free. No extra cost at the higher tier. So let's have a look and see what's going on with you. I have 3 cards for Virgo. That's the first one. We have the 4 of Swords. Current energy piece for Virgo. We have Death. Wow. And it's coming towards Virgo. We have the 8 of Cups. Wow. Wow. We've got the Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck here. There's something really quite profound going on with you this month, Virgo. It's huge. I'm going to use the... What are you? Triple Goddess Tarot to clarify. So, tell me about the 4 of Swords, please. We have the 3 of Cups. And the 4 of Swords again, okay. Just really double down on that. We have Death. Why do we have Death here, please? We have the Hermit, knew that was coming out. Death. And the 5 of Pentacles. Shut that window. Tell me about the 8 of Cups, please. Ooh. We have the 3 of Swords and the King of Cups, with the 8 of Cups at the bottom of the deck again. Right. This is a really deep month, Virgo. Like, I'm not going to fuck about right from the outset. Like, it looks like there is quite a lot going on with you internally this month. I'm not worried about any of it, and I don't want you to be either. But this seems like a month of profound transformation. Right. We start with the shadow cards. We have the Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck here. There it is. It's really beautiful in this deck. I love it. It's a Pisces card, and it talks about flipping your perspective upside down, right? It can be sometimes a submission to circumstances, you know, and it can sometimes be a sacrifice, but I'm not feeling that here for you. It feels like a profound change in your worldview, and one that is incredibly liberating. Okay. Because we also have you leaving something behind. We leave you some things behind of an emotional nature. And I'm going to go into this card more at the end because that's where it appears. But we also have the Justice card appearing underneath there, and I think that this is important. It feels like there is some great justice that is done here for you at this time, Virgo. You know, the flat interpretation of the Justice card is legal proceedings and things like that. But with the rest of the cards that are on the table, and given the nature of the readings that I tend to do anyway, it feels like it's so much bigger than that. It feels like a universal justice coming in, but it also deals with notions of karma and consequence, things like that. And given the very difficult circumstances you found yourself in last year, it seems to me, although the wheel is not here, the wheel is turning for you. And there are some insights that are coming to you this month that will really, really allow you to shake free of perhaps the vestiges of what is still clinging to your ankles energetically, as it were. But it doesn't feel external. It doesn't feel like any of these things are external to you. It feels like there are realizations. There is perhaps a sense of peace, I think, is the way that I want to that I want to express what I'm feeling here. It's a piece that comes with a change of perspective. Now, it could be that this is, you know, widening your view. And I don't just mean like from what's right in front of you, but in terms of maybe how you even perceive reality, right? What the purpose of you as a spirit living a human existence is here on this planet, you know? I'm going to get into the cards anyway, rather than waffling on forever before I even look at them. But it's, in your recent past, we have the Four of Swords. Now, this is it's my meditation card, but it is a card of contemplation and reflection. It is also a card of withdrawing from whatever, right? Whether that is from the people around you or just generally being in a state of withdrawal. Because we know, like, you can be in a particular place in your head, even if you're in a group full of people. And I think actually, as I've said that now, that there are people around you, that there are solid people around you. We've got this card here that talks of support networks, emotional support networks, and they're all equal. You know, no one is above anyone else here. And it feels like there's a really solid set of people around you. But with this Four of Swords being both here and here, it seems to me that you found this sense of peace. You found this ability to be back with people that was missing for quite a long time, because you withdrew spectacularly last year, understandably so, because you had a lot of work to do. You had a lot of processing of the events that had happened to you over that time. But it feels like step by step you're kind of coming back into the fold, but still with this place, whatever this place is to you, being something that you can carry around with you, rather than necessarily having to, you know, literally hermit yourself away from people, because just the energy of being around people while you had so much going on in your head and your heart and your soul was almost too much to bear. Like this, it does feel like you're kind of creeping back to it, but it's peaceful. It's so peaceful, Virgo. I love it. Absolutely love it for you. But in your current energy, we have really something quite dramatic going on. And I think that it is helped by the fact that you have a really good support network around you, and that you are still able to carry this around, because we have this energy of death. There it is. Like, it's Scorpio energy, and it can talk about endings, but I never see endings as something that just stop. Right? It's not just a thing that stops and then it is no more, because when you create space, and the energy of death does create space, the universe will flood in to fill it with something else. Now, it speaks of transformation, and the transformation for you, Virgo, is internal. You know, we've got this Hermit card here, which is your card, and that's the Virgo card there, speaking about the truths and the wisdom that is to be found within. And you are very much about exploring that space at the moment, but not in an isolated way, not in the way that you did last year, where it was just kind of like, everybody back off, leave me alone, I need to deal with all of these things. Like I said, now it's this kind of gentle return to community, but something feels like it's hitting you hard this month, but in the best possible way. I'm looking at this death card here, and how she's inviting you to this, you know, this tree within, but it looks like it's galaxies and you know, planets and stuff like that going on in there. It's something really magical going on there. And it's tapping into something that up until this point you have not seen. Everything that you've done so far has got you to a place where you are now able to see this. You are now able to take these steps, you know, because we've got this Five of Pentacles here. Now, I see Pentacles as energetic currency, right? So anything that you can invest, be it money, time, care, effort, love, all of that, then becomes represented by the Pentacle suit for me. And the traditional meaning of the Five of Pentacles is poverty, a lack or a fear of those things. But when you kind of push through that a little bit more, what you've got is an idea of somebody who has not met their own basic needs. And it feels like you're blowing your own mind apart this month, Virgo, when you discover the extent to which you have not attended to your own basic needs, right? And perhaps, more likely than not, that originated in childhood. So your basic needs in childhood were not attended to. Now, neglect can take many forms, and it doesn't always need to be there wasn't enough food to feed the child, or we were just always poor, although those will be significant contributory factors to this. Sometimes it can be about having that perfect, on the outside, idyllic childhood where you have everything that you need, but your parent was not there because they were working their fucking arse off to provide all of these things for you. The soul needs what the soul needs. And even from the point of being pre-verbal, your soul is keeping track of all of these things, even before you understand what it is to not have these things, you know? And it feels to me like whichever way around it happened for you, you're hitting on something really, really profound this month. Really profound. And it feels like it's shaking up everything. Now, this is, interestingly, it's a concept that's been coming up quite a lot with the signs, and specifically, particularly since I have just completed the 6-month overview. So I'm seeing this kind of repeating theme across all of the signs, and that is, what is that? I've just completely forgotten. No, I literally have just completely forgotten. My mind's gone completely blank. Give me a sec, it'll come back. Let's talk about this a little bit more. It's just eluded me entirely. Oh, I remember. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. This idea of perception being everything. Literally everything. And two people who had identical childhoods could see them very, very differently, depending on how their mind is structured, right? So somebody who has really, really suffered and suffered their entire life has been given a blessing in so much as they understand what it is like to go to the gates of hell and return. They know what it is like to witness grief, like witness themselves experiencing grief on a profound level, right? It is possible to see these things as gifts because it allows you to be compassionate to others who are experiencing the same thing. It allows you to shine a light on something that they may not have noticed up until this point, you know? It is very difficult, very challenging soul growth. If you can go back to your narrative, if you can go back to the story of your life, and at every point along the way, flip your perspective on what that meant, right? And in doing so, it really does require you to pull yourself out of a 3D mindset, right? Because this isn't what it is, right? This is just dense matter. You are a spirit having a human experience. You are literally the universe experiencing itself. You are that powerful and that fucking magical. And at this point, you just happen to have your consciousness downloaded into a set of atoms that are vibrating at a particularly slow frequency, right? To give it a bit of density. If you can go back to every important event that has ever happened to you and look at it from a broader perspective, what has the universe learned here? How can we help shape something better for other people? How can we really, from the very core of us, just overflow with compassion and love and healing energy for other people? Because that's what you've turned into, Virgo. Inadvertently, you have turned into a healer, whether you meant to or not. It's happened and it's here. I often think one of the greatest gifts that one can give another human being is to actually see them, and it happens virtually never. You know, and you always know when it's happened. Like, those people always make an impact on you, where they see straight through, you know, our brittle fronts that we put up, where we say everything's okay and all that lot, and they see straight past it and into the core of you and see how you hurt, see how you are wounded. You know, that moment of extreme vulnerability but connection with another person really, really has an effect, and this is now something that you own in you, Virgo. Now, where in your past can you flip the script on this? Where in the past where you felt like you were deprived, where you felt like you had nothing, where you felt like there was poverty just all abounding, where were you frightened that loss was going to occur? Where were you frightened that there was never going to be anything other than what there was right now? And then look at where you are now, right? Change the narrative, because once you start changing the narrative of your past, like a ripple effect, your present will change too, because you will be tuned into different things. You will be looking at different things. Your understanding of abundance and what that means has taken such a hiding in the last couple of years. You know, that about you has really, really changed. You understand what is important. You know, the Virgo card in the court hierarchy is the Knight of Pentacles, a card for me that speaks specifically about knowing the value of something, knowing the value of yourself, knowing the value of relationships and the important things in life, and holding it up front and center for everybody else to see. Like, you are becoming a guiding light, and for whatever reason, whatever is going on with you at the moment, and certainly well into August, is building upon that over and over again. Like, this feels like such an important month for you, Virgo. I can't even tell you. Because what we've got coming towards you in August is the Eight of Cups. Now, there are many ways in which we can physically remove ourselves from situations that are difficult, right? Abusive situations, ones where we are not happy. All of that sort of, you know, situation. But we also take every single emotion that was associated with that with us. So if you had an abusive childhood, the chances are that you are still rocking an abused child mindset now. No matter how much you worked on it and stuff, there'll be something in there somewhere that is still very much directly related to that. You know, ways in which you have suffered, like, they all still stay in there. Everything is noted by your subconscious. And maybe you've experienced losses. Like, maybe somebody that you really, really cared for left you. Maybe somebody that you really, really cared for treated you in a way that you never anticipated that they would do. You know, all of these things are situations that we either remove ourselves from eventually or are removed from us, and we're left with the consequences, the emotional consequences of that. And sometimes it can feel like scar tissue, you know, and sometimes, you know, that scar tissue doesn't even form, because we do is just slap a plaster over it, and what is going on underneath that, you know, energetic bacterial infection, if you will, it just sits there and it festers, and before long it starts putting out tendrils that affect other things. It can affect your self-worth, you know, it can affect your confidence, it can give you a real sense of nihilism, like, what is the fucking point? The act of emotionally walking away from something is an act of profound growth. And we see this woman here walking away from this house, right? And if you've never read House as a Symbol of the Self by Jung, I would suggest that you do. She's walking away from this house and she's tipping out the cup as she goes. She isn't just leaving behind the cup, she's literally emptying them. Like, there is a profound transformation of you going on here, and there is a release of a thing, many things perhaps, that you did not even realize operated under the surface. Your most recent experience of grief, Virgo, was actually probably the latest in a long line of ways in which your heart has been broken over and over again since you were 2 years old. Like, heartbreak. But it's rising to the surface, and I don't feel any sense of threat with this at all. It feels like a recognition of these things. It feels like your mind putting things together in a way that you never saw before, and it illuminating dark corners within you so that this can rise to be dealt with, to be healed fully, you know. It's almost like looking at this from a distance, and you'll see like the most recent version of whatever it was that hurt you, whether it was literal bereavement or whether it was divorce or whatever it was. Right? They're the obvious 3 swords that are just there, but if you get close up to this heart, I think that you would see that there are chips and there are cracks in it everywhere, and maybe, you know, huge fucking fault lines along there. And it's kind of like opening your eyes up to an understanding that there is a low-level grief in there. There's a low-level pain that is finally ready, through the work that you have done so far, to show its face for the final time. Now, the work is never done, but you can certainly break the back of it, you know? And that's what we've got going on here, because we've got the King of Cups. I've said this a number of times recently, Virgo, but your emotional abilities, if you want to put it like that, have stepped up so fucking hard since last year. You're not the same person. You will never be the same person, because you've experienced so much now, and all the kings have experienced everything, you know, across the board. They experience everything that there is to go, and there is growth happening here, right? Looking at your own broken heart. And like I said, I don't actually feel you re-experiencing the emotion of these. I feel like you're kind of putting things together and almost in a sort of pretty objective way. Just like lights going on everywhere. And you're going, oh my God, I see this now. And at this point, it's almost just the recognition of the death by 1,000 cuts that you've experienced up until this point that allows you to kind of take a step back from it and go, right, oh, I see now that it wasn't just about the 3 swords. I see that there's much more going on here. And each one of these things is probably going to need a slightly different approach to deal with it, but deal with it I will. And what I can do to help that along is to look for the wisdom that I have been gifted by each one of these experiences. And you may find that this actually holistically starts to heal all by itself when you change the narrative. You change the way that you think about it, because you're releasing everything, Virgo. You're letting it all go and just growing over and over again, evolving up to such a point now. Like I said, you may have been experiencing, well, I have to mention, the Lionsgate portal is now actually open. It opened a few days ago, and it will hit its peak around about the 8th of August. And then the energy will start to die down, you know, as the days progress from there. But this is a period of time where that is really closely associated with tremendous spiritual growth, tremendous emotional growth. And that seems to me like where you are headed. So don't be surprised if old situations are just suddenly reappearing. Like, the memory of old situations are suddenly reappearing, because they're asking you to look at it, and look at it now with all the wisdom that you contain now. Like, honor the process that has got you to where you are. You don't have to have enjoyed it. And Virgo, it would be masochistic in the extreme to expect you to do that. or sadistic from me, like masochistic from you, right? But if you truly are the universe experiencing yourself, or itself, then you single-handedly, almost, have done an awful lot to level up the collective around you, and I mean that in a spiritual sense rather than the people that literally are in your environment right now. It feels like a turning point, Virgo. A huge turning point for you. 8 of Cups twice. Aye. It feels like a really special month for you, actually, Virgo. It's not a case of kind of drowning in emotion and sorrow and being all like, oh shit, my life's been awful and all that kind of thing. I just get a sense of you approaching it in an entirely different fashion and just exploding up as a result of it, you know. The thing I really like about this Death card here, despite we've got all of this spacey stuff going on inside of her cloak, it's rooted to the ground. It's a very grounded transformation that is going on here for you. So I'm going to go over to Vimeo now and look at this in a little bit more detail. If you'd like to join me over there, that's cool. If not, that is also equally cool. But know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.